Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Victoria. I live in northern Norway and this is my channel where I talk about my knitting, crocheting and other crafts. In today's video I will be talking about my Stashbusters 2022 challenge and how March went, so like a March update. Did I follow my plans or did I stray completely off? And then also my plans for April. So if you haven't watched the previous video, what the Stashbusters challenge is about is it's kind of in the name and kind of not. It's not necessarily about reducing your stash, but it's about getting to the place where you have a stash that you're more content with. So for me, I really love having a big stash, but the stash that I have right now is not really representative for like where I am right now and what I want to knit right now. And then I also have a lot of really good bits in my stash that I just never see because like I have so much yarn that the really good yarn I'm not able to see. So for me, my personal goal for this year is to knit more from my stash than the new yarn that I bring, so that by the end of the year I'll have less yarn in my stash than I have right now. I also plan on selling quite a bit of skeins that I know that I don't really love and that are like, I know that they're never going to be my like priority to use. So there isn't a point in me spending my valuable time on knitting with them when I can sell them or donate them and then buy new yarn. So that is what my plans are. I just had to check if I had everything with me. So for March, I bought 0 skeins of yarn. I didn't buy anything, and that is really, I'm really happy about that. And then I didn't knit as much as I'd hoped to, but I did knit. I keep all my ball bands so that at the end of the year I can go back and like count and see if like, are there any trends? Did I knit a lot in January and February and then nothing in July? Or did I knit with chunky yarn in January and at the end of the year I was like knitting with fingering weight? I want to see those trends. So for March it was mainly cotton yarn. And if you saw the other video, you know my plan was to use a lot of cotton yarn that I pulled from my stash. But I knit 4 25-gram balls of mohair, 36 50-gram skeins, mostly cotton, but there is also some wool, I think in here, a couple of skeins of wool. And then 1 skein, like a 200-gram skein or cake of yarn for a shawl. So that is all I knit in March. That should total up to like, I think 2,100 grams, I think I calculated. I don't remember, but yeah, I think it was like around there. So if you did watch my previous video, you know that my plans for March was to knit a lot of my Mandarin Grande cotton yarn, and I was gonna make either the Float Tote by Knitty or the Daybreak Trivets by, I think it is Christine Ann Studios who has those, or there was one more thing, but I can't remember the last thing. So that kind of happened and kind of didn't happen. So here is, I was gonna make the Float Tote by Knitty, but then turned out I didn't have enough yarn. I thought, looking back at it, I could have made a two-toned Float Tote and had enough yarn, but I didn't. So I cast on, or I started crocheting with single yarn, just 1 strand, and this is Mandarin Grande. Just crocheted a circle bottom and then some sides coming up. Now I have stopped at this point of this because I'm not sure if I want it just to be a basket, if I want this to be like a a bag to carry or if I want to frog it. So I just stopped here and then I will see what I did. In order to save yarn, because I didn't have enough of this light green to make the entire thing, I used 2 skeins of a darker green on the bottom. So yeah, and I'm not sure how many skeins this is, but I think this is like 6 or 7 skeins of Mandarin Grande so far, and then it will probably get bigger unless I frog it, but I kind of want to just make it bigger and then have a basket for something. So that is thing number 1. And then I was gonna make the Daybreak Trivets by Christine Ann Studios, but it just didn't work. My hands, for some reason, when you're doing the stitch that's in the Daybreak Trivets, which is not a normal single crochet, but it's a single crochet where you go through the V of a stitch, that's just hurting my hands, and I just wasn't able to get the right gauge with this cotton yarn held double without like seriously killing my hands. So instead, I made the Aurora pot holders. Here is one pair. I didn't weave in the ends on any of these things, as you can see. Here is one pair, and then I made another pair, just these. Now, the yarn that I used in this are slightly thicker than what is in the pattern. This is a pattern by me, and you can find it in my Ravelry, but the yarn that I used is slightly thicker than the yarn in the pattern, but that doesn't matter. They're just like slightly more thick so I don't get burned. So that's actually just great. So one pair of these pot holders is 3 skeins of Mandarin Grande. So that means I've used at least 12 skeins of Mandarin Grande since I last talked to you about my Stashbusters challenge. And then I got really motivated because I really wanted to make the float tote. And I had other cotton yarn that was quite deep in my stash that I went and pulled out. And then I made a float tote. This does not have the insert at the bottom of the float tote, so it's a little bit unstable. But here it is. None of the ends are moving in as normal. This is, I'm not sure how many skeins. I think I used 12 skeins of Drops Paris, but that's for this float tote. And I also got, I think, 3 dishcloths out of that. Because when I was already starting using this yarn, I was like, I'm going to use it up. I'm not going to have any scraps of this. So, yeah. And if you want to hear more in detail about any of these projects, you can find it in my podcast. This is just like really an update. How is stash busting 2022 going? So I did reduce a lot of my stash, 2 kilos and something out of my stash. That is great. So now we are going to move on to the plans I have for April. So today is April, I think it's April 6th. I have to check, but I'm pretty sure it's April 6th. So this video should have been filmed and posted a little earlier, but that didn't happen because I had so much I needed to do. So yesterday, or on April 1st, I went into my stash and I picked out yarn that I really wanted to work with. This yarn has been quite deep in my stash, but it didn't work for what I had planned. So instead, because I didn't have like enough of one color to make a sweater, so I was just like, I'll just put it in a box and hide it. But then a friend of me was knitting with this yarn, and it's just so soft and fluffy, and I was like, okay, I have that yarn, I need to find something that I can make with it. So I had 7 colors where I had 3 50-gram balls of each of the colors. So my friends helped me on April 1st picking out 4 colors of those 7 that I was going to make a sweater with. So I'm just going to show you the yarn first. The yarn is in... The yarn is in here. As you can see, this is going to be like a really summery type sweater. I was contemplating knitting a cardigan or like a jacket, but I knit the sorbet cardigan really recently, and then I knit a fingering weight shawl that had pearls, only pearls on one side. It was like a knit one row, pearl one row. So I was like, no, I'm so done with purling. So I was decided I was going to do a sweater with this. So I pulled up 12 skeins of this yarn. I don't think I'll use all of it, but I might need to buy another skein of the color that's going to be on the bottom of my sweater. I'll have to see about that. So since today is April 6th, yesterday I just needed something really quick and easy, or something really easy that I could cast on, that I could bring with me to work and then to lecture, because I only have really big projects that are like at points where I have to think to continue knitting on them. So yesterday I cast on, and I'm almost done with the yoke. I have like 6 more rounds and then the yoke is done. So I'm knitting this. It's just gonna be a very, very basic raglan sweater with a kind of an open neck like this one, because I'm not sure. I used to like tight necks, like to be tight, but I'm not sure. Lately I've been just like enjoying having them slightly looser. So I cast this on quite loose. And I'm knitting this on 5 for the ribbing and 6mm needles for the body. And it's just going to be stripes of these 2 colors. And then I'm going to add in a blue. And then at the bottom, it's going to be a green. And then I still have 3 more colors. I have a burgundy, a petrol, and like a brownish color. So I'm going to make 1 more of these sweaters. I just have to buy a 4th color for that. And then I'm going to be able to use up those skeins as well. But this is my goal for April, is use up as much as possible of these skeins of yarn. So yeah, and if there are a lot of leftovers, because I'm already done with this color and have a skein and a half left, I'm going to weigh it and see if this might be enough for the 4th color on my other sweater, but I think it's like just not enough. So I'm gonna try and make some hats or something with this, because I really just want to get this out of my stash and move on. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to wearing this. And at this pace, this will be gone. This will be not gone. This will be done within Friday, possibly. Today is Wednesday. When I start knitting, I'm a crazy person. I even had someone at my case group yesterday. He was like, "Oh, you talked about yarn now, and I saw you light up." And I was like, "Yeah, that's me. Yarn brings me so much joy." So that was March update and April plans. I hope you enjoyed, and please comment below if you're doing anything that's like this. It doesn't have to be reduce your stash. It could just be love your stash. It could just be gift, sell, donate part of your stash, and then buy more yarn that you really love. Because I want this challenge to be about loving your stash. If that means having 0 stash, having 10 skeins in your stash, or 1,000 skeins, just loving your stash. We're all different and we all have different needs. Personally, I like having a fairly big size stash so that I can just like this yesterday. I was like, oh, I have yarn. I'll just cast on something and start knitting. That is what I really enjoy. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in a month when we're doing April update and May plans. Bye.